This is where it all started, at the Best Western Hotel on North 11th in Beaumont. 8-year veteran of the Beaumont Police Department, 30-year-old Paul Halsey, shot in the chest and left for dead by a man he was questioning regarding a car with stolen license plates.
The officer went to a motel room, confronted the suspect. After the suspect opened the door, a struggle ensued. During that struggle, the officer was shot.
Officer Halsey was rushed to St. Elizabeth's Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. The suspect, driving a stolen red Corvette, led police on a chase to Orange, where he wrecked his car and continued his escape on foot. Meanwhile, law enforcement agencies from all over southeast Texas joined in the investigation and pursuit. They learned the suspect paid someone $50 for a ride back to Beaumont. Following that information led officers to Bennigan's at I-10 and Laurel Drive. There, they talked to a waitress who told them a man fitting the description of the suspect had taken a taxi. After checking with Flanagan Taxi Company, officers found out one of the cabs was on its way to Houston, and the chase began again down I-10 West. This is where the chase ended, about 50 miles outside of Beaumont, where DPS and Chambers County Sheriff's deputies stopped this taxi after chasing us for 5 miles over the Old and Lost River Bridge before they arrested the suspect.
Several different agencies were involved. We waited till we got across the bridges in a clear area where we could take the vehicle down without any problems.
What did he say when you pulled him over?
He said, "I'm the one you're looking for."
The suspect was brought here, just outside of Baytown, to Justice of the Peace Larry Cryer to be arraigned. When that was over, Beaumont police took the suspect back to Beaumont, but not before the suspect made a statement.
Got anything to say?
Yeah, I'm going to die in an electric chair. That's what I'm going to do.
Why?
Why? Because I killed somebody and I'm guilty.
Before the man is formally charged, police in Beaumont will have him in a lineup Wednesday morning to make sure they have the right man. In Chambers County, Roy Hobbs, Channel 12 Eyewitness News.
Earlier tonight, the suspect abandoned that red Corvette we told you about somewhere in Orange.
And Dave Patton is there for a live report. Dave, just where are you and what's going on?
Gene, we're located near the traffic circle in Orange. In fact, I can see it just over to my right. We're along the old Highway 90 here in Orange. And I should begin by saying that the officers here on the scene also tell us that they do have a suspect in custody. We understand that he was stopped somewhere around the Old and Lost River Bridge on the way into Houston. Now, we understand that tonight's shooting began over a stolen car incident of all things. Apparently, an officer was looking into that when the shooting occurred. The suspect then left the Best Western in Beaumont and headed towards Orange, and an APB was soon put out, and all the officers from throughout the area were on the lookout for a red Corvette with Florida tags. And I believe you can see behind me that Corvette that officers are now looking at. This is where their chase came to an end. Apparently, Orange police spotted the Corvette. They chased him here to outside of an abandoned pizza parlor. The suspect then got out of the Corvette and fled on foot. And we understand that apparently the suspect ran across to some apartment buildings nearby, and there paid an innocent bystander who apparently knew nothing about what the suspect was apparently involved in, paid him $50 to take him back to Beaumont. And that's what has led DPS, Beaumont Police, Port Arthur Police, Orange Police, Orange Sheriff's Department, you name it, on this chase throughout our area to try to track this suspect down. And joining me now, our own Roy Hobbs with Channel 12. And Roy, you were nearby as this chase took place, we understand.
Exactly. What happened was the officers got word here at this location that the suspect had taken off toward Houston with that person that he had paid $50 to. We left and followed the officers to Bennigan's on I-10 and Laurel Street, where we believe the suspect was. At that point in time, the officers surrounded the Bennigan's location there. They went to the apartments behind Bennigan's, cordoned off the entire area there. looking for the suspect. They went inside, talked to one of the waitresses at Bennigan's, who told them that the suspect had come in a bloody hand, had hired a cab at that point. At that point, the officers then took off back down each end of the freeway of I-10 looking for the suspect, not knowing what direction he went in. Ultimately, they found out that he was headed east, actually headed west back toward Houston. And as you stated earlier, the suspect has been, or at least it's believed at this point that the suspect has been arrested just outside of Baytown.
So this suspect apparently had an injured hand. Any idea how that injury was incurred?
I think from talking to people here at the scene when we got here, right after the car pulled up, he hurt his hand as he was getting out of the car when he almost hit a lady pulling up here getting out of the car. So we think that what happened is he hurt his hand as he was getting out of the car and then took off across the street, went to the Walmart, to the apartment complex, and procured a ride home, or a ride to leave police on this merry chase all evening long. This chase has been going on since about 8 o'clock tonight.
And it's been an incredible chase. So, Roy, thank you very much. Joining us now is Sergeant Bill Davis with the Beaumont Police Department, who has a little bit more information about exactly what's happened out here tonight. First of all, the most important thing at this point, I suppose, is do we definitely have a suspect in custody?
Yes, we do, Dave. We just learned 3 or 4 minutes ago that we do have a suspect in custody westbound on Interstate 10 at the 802 mile marker in Chambers County. We do have our Beaumont police detectives en route to that location at this time to further identify the suspect, and also we have a justice of the peace being notified at this time in Chambers County so that the suspect can receive the proper judicial proceedings, being warned of his rights and things of that nature.
Yes, sir, and we understand that he was apparently in a Flanagan's cab at some point during this chase throughout tonight?
Yes, sir, he was in some type of cab. I believe it was Flanagan cab, and our understanding was a request to go to Houston, and the cab was en route to Houston, but from our understanding, which is still sketchy, through their help and information, it did lead us to be on the lookout for that suspect in the cab westbound on Interstate 10, which subsequently led the Department of Public Safety to pull him over just this side of the Old and Lost River Bridge.
All of this over a stolen vehicle or something like that?
Well, that's the information we have now, but I'm sure as we check into the investigation, we may uncover a whole lot more. But throughout my law enforcement career, I've heard and seen police officers get killed over a lot less.
This is a difficult thing. Officer Halsey, did you know him personally?
Yes, sir, I did.
And he was a veteran with the force, as I understand it?
Yes, sir. He had been on the department about 8 or 9 years.
Well, we want to send our condolences to the family at Channel 12. How long has it been since a Beaumont police officer lost his or her life in the line of duty? Do you know?
I've checked with several officers. I've been on for 16 and a half years. I've checked with some officers that have been with Beaumont PD for over 27 years, and they cannot recall the last time that an officer was shot and killed in the line of duty being a Beaumont police officer. So it really is a shock to us.
What else are you hearing from the other officers, DPS, Port Arthur Police, and Orange, of course, and the Sheriff's Department, etc.?
Well, law enforcement is just like the news media or anything else. It is a brotherhood, and of course, anytime when something like this happens, it is a tremendous shock. We get into this job knowing the hazards, and of course, one of those hazards is losing our life in the line of duty, and yet when it does come to pass to one of your own, it's still hard to swallow.
Sergeant Davis, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, Gene and Albert, shock seems to be the word right now. Beaumont has lost one of its finest tonight after a shooting. The car that was involved in that is behind me now. I see that they are still inspecting that car, going through it very thoroughly, of course, to try to search for whatever evidence that they might be able to turn up. Okay. In Orange with Channel 12, this is Dave Patton reporting live.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave.
Here's Jim Taylor with a song written by him and Lee Ashworth about Paul Halsey Jr.
A new song is touching the hearts of local listeners. The tune is called Officer Down, and it tells the story of Beaumont police officer Paul Halsey Jr. Jim Taylor co-wrote and performs the song. Jim says the profits from the recording will be donated to the trust fund set up for Officer Halsey's daughters. Jim says his heart goes out to all police officers and their families.
I think cops get a bad rap a lot of times. They've got a job you couldn't pay me to do, and it's a dangerous job, and it's a dirty job, and it's one that we have to have, and I'd like to see people think about that a little more.
Several radio stations throughout the Golden Triangle are playing the song Officer Down, and Jim hopes it will be played on stations throughout the country. Now, the song is only available on cassettes. The records won't be out for another 2 weeks.
Now there's a tradition of the men in blue often handed down father to son. And sometimes it ends with a flag-draped coffin, a salute of 21 guns. So those brothers in blue, they came from every part of the state, for he was one of their own.
In Beaumont, Kathy Carroll, Channel 12, Eyewitness News.
It's my opinion that the decedent, Kenneth Simpson, came to his death as a result of asphyxia due to trauma to the neck.
Cleveland residents packed the small courtroom as Judge Charlie Morgan read the autopsy findings in Kenneth Simpson's death. He died in the Cleveland jail a week ago. Policemen who were present when Simpson died say he was never choked or beaten before they found him dead. But autopsy reports on the victim's body disputes the officer's story.
It was holding the neck or...
Residents who gathered at the police department for answers early Tuesday morning met Houston members of the Black United Front. The national group agrees with family members who fear facts in the case may be overlooked by Texas Rangers investigating Simpson's death.
We have no confidence in Wesley Stiles and no confidence in any investigation by the Texas Rangers that Wesley Stiles is a part of.
I think it's a cover-up of some kind. I'm not sure, but to me that's what it seemed like.
Family members here at the Simpson home refuse to make any comment on the autopsy findings. Officials have yet to rule whether criminal activity was involved in his death. But Simpson's family members say they've known all along that Ken was killed in the Cleveland City Jail. In Cleveland, Vita Beasley, Channel 12, Eyewitness News.
And it was bad as the sounds of Michael Jackson could be heard all over the rural town of Kuntz. Hundreds of kids and adults of all ages gathered for the Spring Fling and Street Dance in an effort to help send the Kuntz Marching Band to Florida. Band leader Carrie Dalton says tonight's fundraiser brought in the last $1,000 needed to make the trip.
The community has been a strong support behind us, and merchants have donated their services as well as their time and efforts, and it's a whole community effort to get them there.
It makes you feel good when you can do something to help the kids and help the community. That's what we need. A little town like this, we need to pull together, and they can make it, and they've proven it. They've made it.
Each band member had to raise $350 on their own for the journey. Amy Richardson brought in over $1,400, enough for herself and 2 other band members.
I've never been anywhere outside of Texas, and I'd like to go to Florida.
This dance was the icing on the cake for the 40 band members who will make their way to Florida, and it's mostly because of the community. Through their generosity and support, they've helped make a dream that these kids have only been able to think about come true. In Kuntz, Chris LeGrand, Channel 12, Eyewitness News.